Hey there, thank you so much for tuning into today's podcast, and I really hope you all are well. So, before I even begin this podcast, I'd love to say thank you to each and every one of you who has supported me. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. 700 subscribers in just a few days. That is a lot, and I say thank you very much. And for those who haven't subscribed, please remember to do so, and let's get our channel to 1,000 subscribers. Now, on to today's topic, we are going to talk about Piers Morgan. So, a few days ago, Piers Morgan got visited by karma. So, this man fell off the stairs in a hotel and he broke his hip. And upon reaching the hospital, apparently he was told that he had to get a new hip replacement. Well, he had to get a new hip because his femur was broken. And honestly, I just thought at that time, this is exactly what Piers Morgan deserves. This man has been so hateful. This man has been the worst of the Meghan haters. And well, if you think this is Piers Morgan's worst nightmare, then you are completely wrong, because now looking at his life, it seems like this man has more troubles, and that is why he's even this bitter. That is why he behaves the way he behaves. Clearly, he is so miserable. Now, let me break this down for you. So, after Piers Morgan broke his hip, his wife literally embarrassed him online. So, Piers Morgan's wife, whose name is Celia Walden, wrote an article for The Telegraph, and let me just read you the headline exactly as it is. So, Celia wrote saying, "Caring for my invalid husband Piers is the biggest test to our wedding vows." And the subtitle says, "I signed up to in sickness and in health, but it's almost 2 weeks since he broke his hip and my patience with my patient is wearing thin." Wow. Wow. When I saw this, my jaw literally dropped. I cannot believe that someone's wife who says that they love their husband so much or just their partner so much would even say such a thing. Why did she think it is okay to write such a thing, especially on the Telegraph, proclaiming how she has now run out of patience taking care of her husband? It just tells me that she obviously doesn't care so much about this so-called Piers Morgan. And well, that is just one indication as to why Piers Morgan is so bitter seeing Prince Harry and Meghan looking happy and being so in love, because clearly he doesn't have that in his life. This woman doesn't seem like she actually cares about Piers Morgan in any way. Honestly, I believe that if it was someone else, if it was someone who truly cares about their partner or their husband, they would be sympathizing with them or saying how strong they've been through the whole process and how they are going to get well and all of that. But then here comes Piers Morgan's wife writing about how she has ran or she is so tired of taking care of her husband. Now, this is actually funny, but I also think this is exactly what Piers Morgan deserves, because this man puts a lot of hatred out there, especially on people that maybe he isn't even very close to, doesn't even know. But you can see clearly that in his home, there's no love at all. And look at the front page of the Daily Mail. They were saying how Piers Morgan wrote an exclusive saying, "The doctor studied my hip x-ray and sighed, oh no." So yeah, that was Piers Morgan explaining how he had a fractured femur. But still, his wife thought that it was very okay to go on a national paper and embarrass her husband. Well, of course, Celia writes for The Telegraph normally, but this was just too bad. This is so embarrassing, and it's actually been discussed all over, and all the responses I'm seeing is people saying, how can someone actually write this? This is not normal at all. And Piers Morgan's story is just the typical story of every other Meghan and Harry hater. As I've told you, I think over and over again, most of these Meghan and Harry haters are people who lack the love that Harry and Meghan have. They lack something that obviously the Sussexes have. That is why they project all of these insecurities, all of this hatred, because they want what the Sussexes have, but they obviously can't have it. For example, Piers Morgan is someone who's been very obsessed with Meghan for a very long time. His hatred has been specifically on Meghan and then extended to Prince Harry because he married Meghan. Piers Morgan had tried to befriend Meghan when she was still acting in Suits, and Meghan didn't want anything to do with him. And then Piers heard that Prince Harry was going to get married to Meghan, and then he became really, really furious. Ever since then, he's been talking so bad about Meghan. In fact, okay, to be honest, he spoke about Meghan well in like a couple of weeks leading to the wedding, and then when he wasn't invited to the wedding is when Piers Morgan started crashing out, saying negative things about this couple. But we all know the reason why he's mad, because this man is clearly jealous. This man is projecting his insecurities. He wishes that he had a wife who loved him the way Meghan loves her husband, Prince Harry. He wishes he had the love that the Sussexes have. His home is clearly devoid of love. And well, before I even go further to show you the many other things that Celia has written about Piers Morgan embarrassing him, let me just read you one paragraph from this article that shows you how embarrassing this whole situation actually is. So Celia wrote saying, I had wanted to be a selfless wife, that is Jennifer Connelly in A Beautiful Mind, she was referencing that, and an endlessly tolerant nurse, but as the days have worn on and Pierce's snappiness has increased, my patience has worn thin. Wow, that is actually diabolical. I didn't think someone's wife would be saying that, especially on a telegraph paper, or any other news outlet for that matter. This is just so bad. And this is an X-ray picture showing how Piers Morgan's hip was fractured. Well, this is exactly what the haters deserve, and apparently he actually just missed a step. Only a step led to this. So yeah, karma is working overtime, and none of these Meghan haters are going to escape their karma. Everyone is going to get their karma at the end of the day because they've just been so evil. So this is what they deserve, right? Now, let me show you a couple of other things that Celia has actually written about her husband over the years. Well, now you're going to understand why Piers Morgan is bitter. So Celia Walden once wrote saying how being married to Piers is basically one very long eye roll. Wow, imagine. Let me just read you this top paragraph saying, being married to Piers is basically one very long eye roll. But what people don't realize about Piers is that he's usually very quiet at home because he's exhausted himself on whatever interview he's been doing. And then in another part she says, this is the only reason I'm sad about him leaving GMB. That is when Piers Morgan quit Good Morning Britain. Well, that and the fact I wake up and there he is staring back at me morning after morning. Ouch. That is someone's wife saying that. That's the only reason why she's mad about, or actually sad about, Piers Morgan quitting GMB, that is back in, was it 2021? Is because Piers Morgan would be there in the morning every day staring at her in bed. That is bad. And then she also added in another part saying, I actually had a friend who had a crush on Piers and I told her she was mad. Gosh. If someone I was married to actually said such things about me, I think I would divorce them the next day because clearly they don't love or care about me. And then somewhere else, this woman describes meeting Piers Morgan, I think going on a date with him for the first time, and she was like, he kept saying, yeah, there are a few things I didn't quite get. And each of those meetings ended up in us having more and more alcohol until eventually he declared his real motivations and said, the thing is, you tick every single one of my boxes. And Celia replied saying, well, that's weird because you don't tick any of mine. And now look at me. That is Celia writing all of that saying that she told Piers Morgan he didn't tick any of her boxes. So yeah, you can just tell that this woman wasn't attracted to Piers Morgan from the very beginning, and I really don't know why she even got married to him. maybe for the status, maybe for the fame or whatever, but clearly she doesn't like this man. She's never liked this man from the very beginning, and every day is just her embarrassing him all over. So this is so bad, but honestly, I'm just here sipping my tea and watching as Piers Morgan gets his karma, because this is exactly what he deserves. These are the people that he deserves. People who are so hateful even towards him, because he himself is so hateful towards other people. So yeah, what do you all think about this? Isn't it embarrassing? So let me know your thoughts, then I'll see you on the next episode. Have a wonderful and amazing time. Goodbye.